Hi, Nick Byron from 360 Insights. Wanted to share something that I've observed from kind of just a standpoint of just observing so many businesses over the course of my career. And it really comes down to kind of the resistance of technology and innovation by certain organizations or certain industries, as it might be. The reality is that every once in a while there's innovations, there's technologies that will really start to become prevalent in certain industries. And you'll find that some will accept that, but others will really push back and really kind of almost replace whatever reality that is, thinking that they are providing what they think is best for the customers. Think about it. There's certain situations that come up in this, and one of them that kind of popped up into my mind today because I was stuck behind one of them was Uber versus cabs. Um, there was a war, geez, whenever Uber came out, say 10 or so years ago, between Ubers and cabs were fiercely fighting back against Uber. And the reality is, if you think about it today, there's a clear winner of who won versus Uber versus cabs. Think about, for example, New York 15 or so years ago. You couldn't throw a stone without hitting a yellow cab. They were just everywhere. Go to New York today, and they're far and few between. They're still there, but by far much less. If I knew the numbers, I would say it's probably 90 to 95% less than it was before. I could be wrong. I'm not sure, but I digress. When it comes down to it, the reality is that the consumer has really seen a better consumer and consumer experience with Uber and Lyft and other services similar to that. And the reality is that had yellow cabs back then, instead of been so resistant in trying to impact regulation and change to save their business over the big bad Uber and Lyfts, the reality is if they tried to innovate, they'd probably still be around today. If you think about it, the real thing about Uber or Lyft or services like that has been the convenience factor. The fact that you can order it straight from your phone, the fact that you can actually schedule it ahead, almost like a black car service if you're going to go to the airport, if you know what time you're going to leave. You know exactly what type of vehicle you're getting in. You know what the cost is going to be. You know the travel route. You know the rider, it's going to be the driver. And you also know if there's an issue, who you can reach out to. When you step into a cab, you almost never know that information. Sure, they have little things up, but it's not very prevalent. And if you happen to step out of that cab, the minute they drive away, you probably have forgotten who they are, their cab number, whatever it might be. And there's a very differencing contrast between the two services. And had the cab organizations really tried to figure out what was making those competitive solutions, Uber and Lyft and others, so much more innovative, they probably, and try to adopt that, by the way, they probably would have been standing around today. The same thing could be said between Sears and kind of online retailers. So Sears and Amazon. Sears was very resistant to online retail. And eventually, due to cost cutting metrics and other things, they lost that battle. Blockbuster and Netflix, DoorDash and restaurants. Right now, there's a battle going on between the fact that DoorDash and Uber Eats is taking so much of the financial cut out of every transaction they get that there's a lot of frustration within the restaurant industry. The reality is that if I was a restaurant and that was my main Achilles heel, I would try to find a way of understanding what made that so innovative and adopt that technology and that solution myself. There are plenty of solutions that can allow you to put your menus online, allow people to order online, and then ultimately hire your own drivers to take care of that transaction. There are small sub shops all over that hire these delivery drivers and they're busy all the time. But again, certain organizations are being resistant to change. Same thing's happening right now between cable and streaming. There is a war going on between them. And I'm going to tell you, in the long run, cable is going to lose out. Um, Streaming just seems to have a much more of a consumer experience that people are adopting in great rates. And the only really the pushback that you're getting from cable companies is they're increasing pricing on you, but then they're losing programs. Like right now, I was at the gym and they have Dish TV, and they have this one big TV that was completely blank today with a message saying that um, this channel has expired due to contract negotiations between Disney and Dish. And how many times, if you happen to have cable, have you seen that you lost a channel because one of those 2 could not come to an agreement? And it to kinda take this full circle, 'cause I apologize, I feel like I'm rambling on. I've seen this happen time and time again where new technologies are coming to the forefront or new innovations are coming to the forefront, and there are some companies that will really truly try to understand that and they'll incorporate it into their solution, but there are others that will be extremely resistant to whatever that might be, and I find that the more resistant you are, the more likely you are to lose that battle over time. If I was in a situation where I saw something coming out that I thought might be more competitive, more innovative, providing a better consumer or customer experience, I would try to figure out what is making that special. I would spend time on their website. I would spend time potentially being a customer and trying to buy their solution and understand the customer experience. I would try to speak to my customers and their customers, and then ultimately really try to understand what is making them special and how can I incorporate or change the way that I'm doing business today. We see this in some cases, especially in software and technology, where you might have something new come out, and some companies will embrace that change, and they'll do that by either trying to invest in adopt and develop that technology in themselves. They might do it through partnerships, or they may actually do it through acquisition and try to acquire a solution and bring that into their solution mix. And you find that those are always the organizations that are thriving in business. The ones that are resistant to that change, the ones that think that they have somehow built the secret sauce that is much better than whatever is dominating the industry at that given time, they end up shriveling up and fading over time. It's not to say that it may kill the business completely. Yes, there are still yellow cabs out there today. But if you looked at probably the gross profit and margin that those companies were getting 15 years ago versus today, probably dramatically different. Think of like Kodak and how Kodak was extremely resistant to streaming. I mean, excuse me, to digital photography. And now I know they are still around in some way, shape, fashion, or form, but they are a small shadow of what they were not too long ago. In my examples, these are big companies. These are companies that were too big to fail 15, 20 years ago, and they're failing. Imagine your smaller company that isn't too big to fail. It doesn't take that much to be something to come in and disrupt the way that business is done, and that could potentially take over your business. So, a long-winded video, excuse me, and thank you for watching it if you're listening to me kind of ramble on. But I really wanted to share this because there's always going to be these technology and these innovations that come out that are truly impactful to the customer experience. And the customers and consumers are going to start to adopt that and sometimes in just, crazy fashions that just create exponential growth for those businesses. My recommendation is don't look at them and shake your head and shun that off or find ways to throw mud their direction. I think of, for example, Uber and cabs, where the cab organization spent so much time trying to push on legislation to change regulations to impact Uber or Lyft. And had they just not done that and focused their intention in trying to be more innovative and understand what's making those two companies more successful, they would still be around today. And, use that as a lesson for your organizations to understand when something new comes out, be inquisitive, try to find out what is making it successful. Even if you were a CEO, spend time, become a customer, invite your executive team to become a customer. Maybe pick up the phone and have a conversation with them because it could be a great opportunity to partner with them and be one of the first to partner, or it may even be an acquisition opportunity for you as well. The key to the end, the key is to really always be innovative, always be moving forward, see where the consumers are going, see what is driving consumer experience in a positive way, and understand that, and then find ways to bring it into your business and adopt that. Because I will say one last thought, that at the end of the day, if you can take in a really inquisitive, highly impactful customer experience and adopt that into your already existing solution that's impactful to your own customers, that all in its own is going to create a much larger competitive advantage over a company that's just offering one solution. So again, thank you so much for taking the time to listen to my video. I hope it's impactful and hope you have a great rest of the day.